The word of the day today for January 15th, 2022 is violescent. Violescent. It's an adjective and it means tending to a violet color. Tending to a violet color, meaning, leaning towards a violet color, approaching a violet color, all those things. In its color, orbiting around violet. The origin on dictionary.com, we get to enjoy a brief jog through the woods of Greek and Latin, and one of the things I found interesting was the disappearance of the W, or what is it called? The wa, or the digamma, or digamma, which appears to tie things together in words like olive and wine and violet and viola. The examples, I loved the examples. I mean, the first one kind of set me up. They're both practical or literal, I should say. They are literal uses of violescent. So they are genuinely describing colors. The first example tickled my fanciful imagination. It's a description of the designs that were being seen on the runway at New York Fashion Week, and Barbara Goldberg, who wrote this piece, it's like densely packed poetry in the form of prose, and she describes the dresses as violescent dresses. And what I liked about this example is that while the word violescent and some of the other words are being used to describe what is being seen and experienced, in her writing she sets it up using sort of a metaphor, words that create a metaphor, a crossing over with weather. So I'll give you the little piece I'm talking about. Started on Thursday with designer runways shrouded in gray. So shrouded, we often, right? We're starting to feel clouds. Occasional breaks in the overcast tones, right? Again, clouds parting, breaks, and it's it's like a weather person, meteorologist. Occasional breaks in the overcast tones on the catwalks brought flashes of burgundy and teal, right? It's almost meteorologically presented, and then you get to the violescent dresses. So while it's being used literally, it's couched in this figurative context of weather, and right, so it broadens it out. It's like there was some beautiful natural event that they were witnessing at Fashion Week. So a cool way to use, the dresses were purple, and occasionally there were other colors. This is maybe gets to more of what the emotional and social experience was, the impact of the designs and of the event, versus just saying what literally was there. visually. Ways that Violescent, I think, could find its way into our lives. I think, obviously, to use it literally to describe things. So, for instance, hibiscus. There are some kinds of hibiscus that apparently, based on the makeup of your soil, can change colors relatively dramatically. Meaning, it could be you could buy one that's supposed to be pink, but ends up purple. So I'm thinking to myself, as you, depending on what your soil is, if you've got some variation in your soil, perhaps you would describe, instead of saying you have purple hibiscus, you might say that you've got violescent hibiscus, because they tend to be purple or tend to be violet. Or yeah, their shade tends toward violet. You could also use violescent and other essent words if you were writing in a sci-fi context, doing some creative writing. Sometimes you like to, for instance, with Star Wars, everyone has noticed by now, the planets end up being, this is a desert planet, this is a swamp planet, this is a water planet. Creating those very clear environments can set a tone for what happens there, and while, to switch up how you bring your readers into these environments, right? In one city, one town, in a futuristic sci-fi environment, you may describe the smells, you may describe the sounds, and you could do examples of things that are seen in that town, and things that happen in order to establish the setting. You could then, I'm thinking, you go to the next town or the next city or the next setting, you could use a word. Let's say it was more of a refined context, like a controlled architecture that was more controlled, more planned, and had kind of a consistent color palette. So you could say, you could use words like violescent to describe this new context as, to describe the architecture as tending. So you have, all of a sudden in your mind, it's this refined architecture that tends toward the color palette purple or violet, which has kind of like cool but warm, right? Violets in the purple family, combination of red and blue. So it allows you. So I think what I'm saying is that it allows you some opportunities for diversity in how you describe the settings that your characters are in to your readers. Violescent decor, violescent architecture.